Excuse me, sir. Pushpendra sir. Hello, Pushpendra sir.
Good afternoon to all. Akshay sir, good afternoon. This is Dr. Pushpendra from DT speaking.
Good afternoon, Pushpendra.
Audible, sir? दीपक
afternoon, sir.
अक्षय सर को प्रेजेंटर के राइट्स दे दिए हैं.
Yes, sir.
Am I audible, Deepak?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I hope you can see the slide from my side.
Yes, sir. We can able to see, sir.
All right, so I will just stopping the sharing. You can continue so that we can start.
Okay, sir. Okay.
So good afternoon to all. And on behalf of Atal FDP program and the organizer committee, I once again welcome all the participants. And my heartfelt gratitude to Professor Akshay Dwivedi from IIT Roorkee for giving his valuable time to share his experience and wisdom with all of us. Professor Dwivedi, I'm having some technical glitch, so my video is not working and I'm unable to listen from that side also. So pardon me for that. Anyway, sir, I welcome you to this program and I hope that it will be enticing and thrilling experience for all of us as always. And I will hand over to Ms. Kiran Cholak to kindly do the formal welcome of Professor Dwivedi and let us all know about him. Please, Ms. Kiran, take over the chat.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. On the behalf of organizing committee for this FDP program, we would like to welcome Professor Akshay Dwivedi and express our gratitude towards him for sharing his knowledge, experience and wisdom with all of us today. The broad area of his talk would be around clean energy and transformative manufacturing process. Professor Akshay Dwivedi has joined the Department of Mechanical and Industrial Engineering at IIT Roorkee as assistant professor in January 2010. He did his PhD in the field of advanced manufacturing process from IIT Roorkee in 2009. He has a professional experience of 11 years at various positions at IIT Roorkee. He has an expertise in the field of advanced manufacturing methods and process, non-traditional micromachining, metal matrix, composites, primary and secondary processing of MMC, quality management, UFT for service sector. He has supervised 18 PhD scholars and have 5 Indian patents. He has been awarded with award Best Paper Award, FTMME 2019 and Outstanding Teacher Award in 2006 at IIT Roorkee. Now with these words, we would request Professor Akshay Dwivedi to kindly take the session so that we all can benefit from this lecture. Thank you, sir. Sir, please continue the session.
Thank you, Dr. Pushpendra and Dr. Kiran, for a wonderful introduction. I hope I am properly audible. Both
Yes,
of
sir.
your voices were quite feeble. Maybe it was an issue with my speakers, but I hope I am audible. Please respond.
Yes, sir.
Okay, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes.
perfect. So, dear participants, today we will be talking about certain issues with respect to sustainable manufacturing, where energy, clean energy, is something which is very important, and basically how we should actually approach towards making an environment in a better way. One important requirement to understand here is over some past few decades, maybe starting with the Industrial Revolution, we have started working towards something which is referred as consumerism. So this implies that whatever that we make, maybe in an industry, in some sort of a plant, we make it, then we send it to the market, somebody uses it, and then finally that particular thing is discarded when the usable lifetime has gone. In this particular way, what happens is there is certain degradation in terms of environmental aspects. And we are increasing this particular environmental waste day by day, and this has become some sort of a norm. Uh, People have tried multiple ways how to reduce that particular environmental impact. And in that particular way, they have started moving towards something which is referred as circular economy. By the way, circular economy is something where you try to reuse, you try to recycle, you try to remanufacture the product once it has completed its time, and basically you then try to again get some kind of profit from it. But the issue is industry rarely would like to go for this particular thing because their short term goal is usually the profit part. And in that particular profit part, if there are more sales, if there are more things which comes up, usually the profit comes into picture. One thing which is, let's say, if we have to understand that every year big mobile phone companies are going to provide you new models. I do not know what kind of better feature that those particular mobile phones have and what kind of service that they actually do. But yes, as a consumer, we have often this particular feel to buy them. Maybe it is some sort of accomplishment which we get from buying new products. But yes, that is more or less a market driven kind of an economy. Is it possible to actually develop some products where maybe we can reuse them? Yes, that can be one way how we can lower the environmental impact. But another thing is, can we actually work on the manufacturing aspects where we develop, let's say, those kind of manufacturing processes where these manufacturing processes are giving you better results, have lesser environmental impact, and maybe in doing so, you can channelize the different energies to give you results so that the process itself becomes a sustainable manufacturing process. So from now onwards, I will be discussing about certain issues with respect to sustainable manufacturing, how clean energy can come into picture, how we can reduce the environmental impact, specifically focused on the manufacturing aspect. And then maybe at end of the day, we will be having some kind of an understanding that what are the key issues and how to address those particular challenges. So now I'll be sharing a small presentation. A few initial slides are basically going to cover some initial aspects, and then I'll be talking in detail about some of the processes, what are the issues, and how we cater to those issues so that environmental impact can be less. And maybe this will give you sort of a thought process that how you can actually convert a particular existing process into a better one by making it more environment friendly, or maybe develop a particular new process where you combine multiple energy sources so that again the environment impact is less and still you can get good outcome from that. I hope I was properly audible and I can continue. Someone please respond.
Yes, sir. Yes.
All right. See, the idea here is JF Kennedy said one person can make a difference and everyone should try. Now, as engineers, we often make new things, we make certain processes to make those new things, and we go by some sort of a textbook kind of a definition that a process is there and you can use this particular process to make certain products, and then you can sell those particular products out in the market. But of course, that involves certain sales channel and other things. But let's say if you are a researcher in engineering community, can you make a difference? The answer to this particular question is very simple. Yes, if you can try, you can make that particular difference. So basically, from the today's talk, we will be discussing about that how we can try that particular thing, what are the potential issues in a particular process, and then how to solve those particular issues and still get a positive kind of an outcome, which is a win-win situation for all. One thing which now comes in is what is sustainable development. So there is a commission which defines sustainable development as that meets the needs of present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. So we have to understand that whatever practice that we follow right now, it should be beneficial for us, no doubt about it, but it should not be detrimental to the future generations. And environment is something which is very important. Mother Earth is something which is going to take care for us for a long time. And usually, if we respect that particular Mother Earth, we will be gaining a lot in future. However, but in that particular case, if you do not care about that particular environmental aspect, the generations in future will be facing some serious troubles. Now, one thing which is to be remembered is global warming is going at a very fast pace. Maybe by year 2050, we will be having a 2-degree rise in temperature, and which may create certain catastrophic failures in how mankind is going to sustain. More or less over past few years, we have seen that people from rural community have moved into urban cities, and this is one particular reason where global warming is coming into picture. More or less, all of us have got some kind of a luxury, some kind of comfort which are available with us, the ACs, heaters, and other appliances. But these comforts provide us protection only for a while. And if we have to sustain this particular comfort, we have to have this comfort, but again, ensure that whatever that we do, whatever that we use, that particular thing should be environment friendly. Critical objective for our society is to enhance resource efficiency. Now, in this particular resource efficiency, I do not intend to say that whatever resources that you have right now, you have to use them up to their fullest potential. But along with this, you have to utilize the resources up to fullest potential, keeping in mind that these particular resources do not degrade Mother Earth. We have to basically come out from that linear take, make, and dispose of model. In fact, we have to go in a way where we can actually provide lesser impact on the environmental part. Now, when this particular sustainable manufacturing comes in, we need to understand that if we do everything in the current sense, the idea is going to be catastrophic failure. We do not want that particular thing. In fact, the life will not be possible if we continue in this particular same way. To understand, we have to understand there are certain pillars of sustainable development. The first pillar is environment. So whatever activities that you do, they should be focused towards environment. The second pillar is social. Now, whatever that you are doing, whether that particular thing is reflected in society at large. And the third pillar which comes into is economy, which is of course predominant and a driving factor. That whatever that you do, you have to gain profit. In my own humble sense, and one particular statement, Lala ji ko profit chahiye. So no industry can survive without profit. So you have to find out ways where whatever that you do should bring in profit, but it should be also beneficial to the society, and it should not degrade any kind of an environment. Now, when we club all of these particular things, then only sustainable development comes in. Now, in doing so, we have to understand one particular specific understanding, which is creation of manufactured products that use processes that minimize negative environmental impacts, conserve energy and natural resources, are safe for employees, communities, and consumers, and are economical sound. So this particular specific definition is what we have to follow. One thing which is also very important is when we say safe for employees, here employees are basically internal customers of a particular company. Internal customers in a sense because they are interacting with the products that we manufacture. their outcomes or whatever that they experience, this is going in the end product, which society is going to use. So overall, what happens in this continuous chain is from internal customers to the external customers, where customers can be the complete society. Everything should be behaving in line so that environmental impact is either zero or it should be bare minimum. And in doing so, we have to develop certain processes, specifically manufacturing processes, so that these processes can also give you good results in terms of, let's say, profit or finance. And of course, they should also be beneficial for the society at large. In doing so, there are a few important things which now comes in. And one of the biggest buzzword here is innovation. So when innovation comes into picture, and if that particular innovation goes with the mindset of sustainability, that is going to give you some far better outcomes. Innovations usually promote accelerated growth in manufacturing, but of course, idea here is sustainability, and the background idea behind sustainability is Mother Earth. If we can develop all of these particular things in a tandem way, which is simultaneous way, we can of course generate certain wealth. Of course, that will be resulting in more comforts, which is then reflected into societal well-beings. And if we can have wealth as well as societal well-being, we need to develop sort of a mindset where each and everyone who is working in sort of a research community, or maybe who is working with engineering background, those particular people should have efficient education and training, so that whatever that they do, they should keep in mind that sustainability and environment is something which is very important. Now, in doing so, there are certain elements which now comes in, and those elements are number one, environment friendliness, which we have talked in detail. Second is, if you are working on a particular manufacturing process, you have to ensure that there are no or minimal waste that comes out. And if this particular no or minimal waste has to be there, maybe there are 6 R's which now comes in. One R is, let's say, with respect to a product is repair. So can the product be repaired easily? Second question that comes in is, can it be repaired cheaply? Third question that comes in is replaceability. Can the parts be replaced rather than the whole product becoming unusable? This is one important requirement, where whatever process that you use to develop a product, if that particular process is designed in a way where repair can actually be an integral part in the thought process, we can have minimal waste, and we can manage that particular waste in a much more refined way. Another thing which comes under waste management is reuse. So here, let's say if a product can be reused, perhaps in a new way, or maybe we do something so that we can extend its life, we can again reduce the waste. Here, there can be more questions. For example, can a part be reused? Or maybe it is possible to dismantle that particular thing for reuse. So if that particular reuse is again possible, we will be lowering down the waste part. The next part that comes in is, again in waste reduction, is recycle. So can you recycle the raw materials that you have used to develop a particular part? And if you can recycle that, can you actually use those particular materials for a different purpose? So can you basically design a particular manufacturing process which can use certain raw materials, where these raw materials can be recycled once they have used their usable lifetime? So in that particular case, if you can actually finally reduce the amount of material used, if you can reduce the energy that is needed for manufacturing, and if you can also reduce the waste and packaging part, we all are contributing to this particular waste management part, which is something which is very important. Just a minute. सर मैं क्लास ले रहा हूँ, 6 बजे बात कर रहा हूँ, 6 बजे बात करता हूँ सर, क्लास ले रहा हूँ, मैं क्लास ले रहा हूँ सर, अभी कुछ नहीं कर सकते, किसी को भेज दीजिए सर, अपने साथ ही लेके जी. Sorry for interruption. Now, in this particular case, usually whenever do certain kind of manufacturing, there are certain costs which comes in. One of the foremost cost is capital cost. Now with capital cost, it implies that what is the overall cost of the equipment that you want to use in a manufacturing process, and that particular cost can of course be minimized by taking certain steps. But the second thing which comes in is if you can also reduce the operational cost, that is in terms of energy. See, every manufacturing process requires some kind of electrical energy. You may work on a process where thermal energy is being converted into a different energy. But to generate that particular thermal energy, of course, you need a primary source. That can be electricity, that can be coal, that can be any kind of a fuel. So if you can develop a particular process where energy is utilized in a way where it is an efficient use, the overall manufacturing cost can be reduced. More or less, this is related with the amount of power that is consumed, which is my fourth point. The next 2 points which comes in here in this particular case and are very important are personal health and operational safety. Now, in this particular case, for whatever process that you develop, if the process is creating, let's say, some kind of a toxic fumes, it will be detrimental to the employees who are working in this particular organization who is working on this manufacturing process. Second is the process has to be more or less safe. So I'll be talking about some processes where all of these particular issues came in, and from those particular issues, what can actually be done to reduce the waste, get this particular thing at a bare minimal cost, get a best possible combination where energy is utilized in a most efficient manner, and last but not the least, safe for the personnel who are engaged in this particular part. Let me talk about, let's say, now 3 processes. Now, I do not know what kind of a background I have for the audience who are listening to this particular talk, but let's say I take this particular assumption that you have heard about some of the non-conventional machining processes, which I am going to now talk. Before I discuss these particular things, let me give you a slight background. You all know that in terms of manufacturing, there are 2 ways. One is conventional one, other one is non-conventional one. Let us focus this particular thing only on a manufacturing where you have to do, let's say, some machining part. Now, in machining, whenever there is a direct contact between tool and work, and with that particular contact, a conventional chip comes out, we are referring to a conventional machining jobs or conventional machining processes. However, there are certain processes where there may or may not be a direct contact between tool and work. And here, the material removal can be in terms of, let's say, atoms, or maybe in terms of, let's say, very micron size particles due to variety of different process mechanisms. We then refer these particular processes as non-conventional machining processes. Now, some examples about these particular non-conventional machining processes, maybe you have also heard about them. One is ultrasonic machining, another one is abrasive jet machining, another one is abrasive water jet machining, then electric discharge machining, abbreviated as EDM here on my particular slide. Then electrochemical machining, which is abbreviated as ECM here on my slide, and then laser beam machining, where photons come into picture. Now, in this particular case, I have taken 3 cases for 3 conventional process, non-conventional processes, where what happens with these particular processes. Just to give you an initial background about, let's say, these processes, we will be understanding that what happens here in this particular scenario. Now let us pick one by one. The first is electric discharge machining. So here what you do is basically you have a particular bath in which you keep a work material which is dipped into a fluid which is dielectric fluid. Over this particular dielectric fluid, you have a tool, and then you have the tool as well as workpiece as electrically conductive materials. So you provide a polarity to this particular tool and work material. Usually tool is given a negative polarity and work is given a positive polarity. So the process works in a very simple kind of a way that as soon as you apply potential difference between these 2 electrodes, there is some kind of a gap between tool and work, and this particular gap is filled by a dielectric fluid which is an insulator. Now, as soon as you increase the potential difference, there will be a sort of flow of electron that is going to move from one electrode to another. And since there is a dielectric fluid in between them, the dielectric fluid would like to stop that particular flow of electron. But as you go on increasing this particular potential difference, the flow of electron will finally happen, because this particular flow of electron will be ionizing the dielectric fluid. And that is going to result in sort of a plasma channel, which creates sparks. Wherever these particular sparks strike, they create certain damage, and that particular damage is in terms of material removal. Here, let's say if that particular material is removed by thermal damage, this damage results in a temperature of order of something around 8,000 to 12,000 degrees centigrade, which no engineering material can sustain. The end result is you get exact replica of the shape of tool on the work material. Simple mechanism. But here in this particular case, the dielectric medium that we often use is a hydrocarbon oil. Now, if we have this hydrocarbon oil as dielectric medium while it is getting ionized, and you are having that particular spark energy coming into picture, there will be certain toxic fumes that will be generated near a EDM while it is working. So you have harmful gases coming out. Now, over a period of time, when you continue this particular process and with deionization of the dielectric medium along with the sparks, the efficiency of that particular dielectric medium goes down. More or less, carbon gets added into that particular dielectric medium. End result is you have to filter that particular dielectric medium, but even with that particular filtration, there is a usable lifetime of that particular medium. So you need to change it. Now imagine you are using a hydrocarbon based oil as a dielectric medium, its usable lifetime is gone, and if you have to change it, what do you have to do then? You have to either remove it from the machine system, keep it in some sort of storage, where maybe you can send this particular storage for some sort of a recycling. But usually in industry, that particular recycling rarely happens. It is easier, in fact cheaper, to throw this particular dielectric medium, which is of course a used one, into environment. What it does, it degrades the environment. You are basically creating more trouble to the environment part. That is something which is now coming into picture. Now, so let's say if you have a scenario where you have a wonderful process like EDM, which can create a damage on a work material, where the damage is basically in terms of material removal that you desire. So basically you control this particular process so that you get a desired feature. But in that particular same case, you are also creating certain environmental impact. So can you do something for this particular specific situation? This is one question that we have to answer. And I'll be talking about how to do that particular part. Now, talking about another process, for example, electrochemical machining. Here again, we have a similar kind of a case where a tool and a work material, they both come into picture. Here, in case we have this particular bath, and this particular bath is filled with electrolyte. So electrolyte is basically conducting. So again, we provide a negative polarity tool, positive polarity to the workpiece, and as soon as we apply the potential difference, there is a mechanism which comes in, and the name of mechanism is named as anodic dissolution. So here in that particular part, with anodic dissolution, the work material, when it gets removed, basically results in a scenario where this particular work material gets dissolved either in the electrolyte, or in certain case it creates certain insoluble precipitate. So as soon as you get a shape or cavity to be created in the work material, the removed material gets into some sort of a solid precipitate, and this particular solid precipitate finally settles down in this particular bath. End result is you finally remove this particular precipitate and then you throw it in the environment. That is again going to create certain issues where environmental damage comes into picture. Similarly, with laser beam machining, what we have is we have a wonderful case where this is one of the finest process which is used for very precise kind of machining. But again, in this particular case, what happens here is whenever photons or a laser beam, basically, when it strikes on a particular work material, it creates a temperature something around 8,000 to 12,000 degrees centigrade, and it can easily drill or machine any kind of a non-reflective surface. And in doing so, the process that comes in is usually sublimation, where the work material directly converts from a solid to a gas. And in doing so, you get the desired feature. But of course, it also creates sometimes harmful gases, sometimes radiations, and there will be certain aerosol particles in the air in vicinity of a laser beam system. So again, you are creating something which is hazardous for environment. Most importantly, if I have to talk about the capital cost of these particular equipments, usual cost of a EDM machine may range from, let's say, 5 lakhs to something around 45, 50 lakhs. If we talk about ECM system, again, the range from 5 lakhs to 50 lakhs. For a laser beam system, the capital cost starts from 50 lakh onwards. In fact, there are some laser beam systems which even comes in some maybe 1 crore, 2 crore, 3 crores, and so on. So basically, you require a very high capital cost if you have to go towards this sort of a system. So can you develop a particular system which can make the machining part in a easy way where lesser capital cost is required, where you can also lower the operational cost, where you do not create environmental hazards, where the system becomes safe for the people who are working with those particular systems, and still get best possible outcomes so that profit comes in. These are certain issues which now comes in. Now, for addressing these particular issues, research community has been doing multiple things over a period of time. And with that particular multiple things, what they have done is they have actually made process hybrids. In certain cases, these particular hybrids were minor modification in the process, or in certain cases, they actually envelop two different processes to get best possible outcomes by that particular combination. Now, one simple case where, let's say, EDM comes in, multiple variants have evolved over a period of time. One such variant is named as dry EDM. Second variant is near dry EDM. Both of these particular variants are often termed as green EDM. In certain cases, when combination of energies are done in a way where both of those particular energies equally contribute to the material removal, in those particular cases, we refer the process enhancements as hybrid EDM. With the laser, similarly, you have eco LBM, you have underwater LBM, where aerosol particles, when they go out, they basically do not go here and there, they remain in the water, and those particular aerosols do not create an environmental impact, and you can filter that particular water over a period of time. Similarly, let's say if we talk about electrochemical machining, there are certain ways how you can channelize the energy in a much better way, where you can actually control the process so that it is environment friendly. Over a period of time, certain hybridization of different energies have come up. For example, if EDM and ECM, they both are clubbed, the process basically converts into electrochemical discharge machining. Let me talk about this particular process. So what we have here is, again, we have sort of a bath in which we keep a particular work material, and this particular work material can be conductive or it can be non-conductive. Remember, when I talked about EDM and ECM, we had only conductive work materials because it was basically acting as sort of an electrode. However, in ECDM, we can have a conductive or a non-conductive work material. So over this particular work material, we keep a very small tool. Small tool means small in terms of dimensions. And we have a large counter electrode somewhere at bottom. Usually the ratio between tool and counter electrode is something around 1:100. We provide polarity to the tool and counter electrode. Usually tool is kept negative, counter electrode is kept as positive. And we fill in this entire system by a electrolyte medium. Let's take a case where electrolyte that we are using is NaOH. Okay. Now, in this particular case, as soon as we provide potential difference between tool and work, somewhere around 15 volt, there will be nucleation of bubbles. Usually at the tool electrode, the bubble will be hydrogen, and at counter electrode, the bubble will be oxygen. So basically what is going on is with electrolysis, the water which is present in the electrolyte is basically dissociated into hydrogen and oxygen. There will be a time when, let's say, if I have a tool which is, let's say, a solid cylindrical one, and if a hydrogen bubble is nucleated, over a period of time, more hydrogen bubbles will be coming out with continuation of the potential difference. And then these particular bubbles will be coalescing in form of a film. And this film is going to be an insulating film over the tool surface. So end result that you are going to have here is, when you started, basically you were working in a process where the process were acting like ECM, but as soon as you apply potential difference, the hydrogen film basically creates an insulating layer over the tool tip. As soon as this particular layer comes in, the EDM process comes into picture, which creates ionization of this particular gas film. The gas film breaks and it creates sparks. Wherever those particular sparks will be hitting on the work material, it is going to create a thermal damage, and that is going to result in the final material removal. Idea is simple. You can have a process which can now have work on conductive as well as non-conductive materials. Now again, in this particular case, the electrolyte evaporation is quite low as compared to ECM part. So basically it is slightly better in terms of environmental and efficiency, but the electrolyte, let's say, that we are using right now is NaOH. Now NaOH is sort of a toxic electrolyte. Can you do something where we can replace this particular NaOH by a slightly better, or I should say environment friendly kind of an electrolyte? Maybe NaCl. By the way, if NaCl comes into picture, we are basically referring to something which we all know, common salt. So in case if you can replace a toxic kind of electrolyte with maybe a neutral kind of an electrolyte, where disposition of this particular electrolyte is again not going to create far more environmental damage, you are moving in the right direction. Of course, in this particular case, few more things that now comes in is, traditionally when ECDM systems are used, we use the potential difference in range of, let's say, 35 to 50 volt. And with this particular potential difference, of course, the process has got its own efficiency. Now, in case if you want to increase the efficiency, basically, if you want to increase the amount of temperature that is being generated by this particular process, what you can do? One thing which can be increase the voltage. Maybe from 50 volt, I can go to 80 volt. Yes, that can increase the material removal rate, because now since there is more voltage coming in, that particular voltage will be providing higher material removal rate. Now, the idea here is we are basically going with sort of a brute force methodology. Right now, I am providing this much input. If I need to get more output, let me increase my input here. And that particular brute force may not be environment friendly. Basically, maybe in earlier case, you were just using 60% of the energy that was provided. But with this particular brute force, the energy increase or energy utilized is only up to 70%. But you have basically doubled the input in terms of your voltage. So can you actually have a far better utilization of energy right at, let's say, 35 volt from 60% to maybe 80% or maybe 90%? Can we do that particular part? These are few questions which now comes on, which require certain research kind of a mindset. Let me talk about, let's say, EDM, and let's see what can be a different alternative which can fulfill all of those particular requirements. See, most important element which is there in an electric discharge machining system is dielectric medium. So usually in a dielectric medium, what you have is you have a particular bath in which you will be having your work material, which is electrically conductive, a tool which is again electrically conductive. You provide polarities to both of these particular things. You fill in this particular entire bath with dielectric medium. Usually in electric discharge machines, the amount of dielectric medium which is available in this entire system is approximately 200 liters. 200 liters. There is a particular circulation system wherein dielectric medium goes from the bath to this particular recirculating system, which again has got some kind of filters, which filters the dielectric medium and then replenishes the bath at a particular flow rate. So as soon as there is some contamination which comes in into this particular dielectric medium, the filtration system is going to clean that and you can get fresh dielectric medium. But the issue here is what happens with that particular contamination where the dielectric medium burns out. What happens to those particular toxic fumes which are there in the system? Now, one objective now we have is, let's say during this particular process, whenever sparks are coming in, those particular sparks will be resulting in the toxic fumes. Now, if I ask you a solution for this particular part, what will be your way of addressing to this particular query? Maybe someone here will be saying, sir, let's say here some fume is going to come out. I will be providing maybe some sort of vacuum tube here so that all those particular fumes are getting sucked into vacuum tube. Can we do that? So no fumes are then going in the environment. And yes, I can easily take out the fumes. Can we do that? Yes, we can do that. But can we think about a particular way where we address to complete removal of the cause? Can we have a particular scenario where we do not have any fume coming into picture? Or maybe if we cannot make it completely zero, can we minimize to, let's say, 2% of the fumes which were earlier available, or maybe 3%, not more than that? Can we also have a particular case where odor is not coming into picture? Can we have a particular case where we remove the root cause of all of these particular things so the operator can actually get their work done in a very safe kind of environment where no toxic fumes comes into picture? And to address these particular issues, let us talk about a particular process which has emerged over a period of time. And that particular process is named as near dry EDM. Now, in near dry EDM, what happens is basically you have a dielectric medium which is mixture of some kind of a gas and some kind of a liquid. And here in this particular case, an atomized spray of dielectric medium comes into picture. I hope I am audible since I am not
Yes, sir.
having any kind of a response. Okay, I will just take a
Everything
minute.
is fine.
Okay, I will just take a minute. There's an important call. Just wait for a minute.
Yes, sir, please.
All right, coming back. So, see, the idea here is the electric medium is creating all of this particular environmental damage. Can I remove this particular dielectric medium? And can I have a particular case where, let's say, if no hydrocarbon oil is used, can we get some good results and maybe in terms of higher material removal rate as well? So the first thing that comes in is if I remove this particular hydrocarbon oil, which is acting as a dielectric medium between tool and work, how the process is going to work? See, is air a insulating kind of a thing? If I remove this entire hydrocarbon oil between tool and work, can I use air in this particular case? The answer to this particular thing is of course yes. Now in this particular case, let us say if I take air, the insulating strength of air will be far more as compared to hydrocarbon oil. Now in that particular case, I may need to move my tool quite close to the work material. Then only that particular ionization is going to happen so that sparks can travel from tool to work. This idea was developed by NASA, and the process that evolved was named as dry EDM. In terms of process efficiency, the material removal rate of dry EDM was far more as compared to conventional EDM. Conventional EDM is, of course, that one where we use a hydrocarbon-based dielectric medium. Now, in this particular case, you have to understand a particular scenario. Let's say in conventional EDM, I was having my tool and work material at a particular distance, and I was flushing the gap between tool and work with hydrocarbon oil. In dry EDM, I have to bring this particular tool close to the work, and I have only air between the tool and work. I am saying air, but yes, people have used oxygen, people have used multiple gases, but more or less, since the environment is dry, the process then refers as dry EDM. Now, if the tool and work are very close, in that particular case, only the sparks can generate and they can create damage on the work. Now, this also implies that since tool is very close to the work, the complete energy of the spark that will be transferred to the work material. Complete is, of course, a big word, but maybe a major proportion of this particular energy which is being generated in dry EDM, that particular energy will be absorbed in the work and then it is going to melt and evaporate the work material. End result is you will have higher material removal rate with dry EDM in comparison with conventional kind of a EDM. Yes, this is a sound idea. This can work. Will it generate toxic fumes? Well, if you are using air and if sparks are traveling through that particular part, I don't think it is going to create that kind of a toxicity which was there with respect to hydrocarbon oils. Do you agree? If yes, perfect. Can we go and use the dry EDM part? Answer is of course yes. Now in this particular case, an issue comes up. And that particular issue is what happens to the surface quality of machine surface. Enormous amount of heat is going into this particular dry EDM process. And with that particular enormous heat, what is going to happen is there will be, of course, far higher material removal rate in initial stages, but maybe over a period of time, some of the dissolved material can actually come in direct contact with the tool while it is trying to wait from piece gap. End result can be it can create certain issues where it creates a short circuiting situation between tool and work. And if that is going to happen, it is going to create very bad surface quality on the work. And of course, it will be deteriorating the tool geometry as well. End result, surface quality bad, far higher material removal rate. I have a process that works, but not up to its fulfilling, but it is not fulfilling the complete requirements. Yeah, toxicity issues are resolved. Now, identifying this particular issue, now near dry EDM comes in. In near dry EDM, what you have is you have a simple EDM machine, which is of course there for a conventional kind of an EDM system, often easily available. In that particular machine, there are some more attachments which are added. And let's see what are those particular attachments. One particular thing is you need to have actually a mist kind of a flow going between tool and work. Mist implies here you will not be having a complete dry air or a complete wet hydrocarbon oil. You need sort of a mist going on. Mist can be made with respect to, let's say, combination of air and water, a combination of glycerin and water, a combination of maybe air and some kind of a gas, maybe with a higher proportion of, let's say, oxygen here. And then you combine this particular thing with a liquid medium, and that liquid medium can be glycerin or it can be a hydrocarbon oil. So basically, you need sort of a spray or some sort of a mist. Now, to do so, what we need is we need a compressor. We need a filtration system to remove any kind of impurity which is there in this particular air. And we need a pump which can provide high pressure dielectric medium so to go and meet in sort of a mist generator. I hope everyone here has used some sort of a deodorant in their lifetime. Even if you have not used, you must have seen those particular spray bottles. So what do? You basically press that particular thing on top and this particular spray comes out. So we are having basically a similar kind of a scenario. Only in this particular case, we have two different inputs going into this particular mist generator. From this particular mist generator, the mist goes in and it comes down into a hollow tool. क्लास में हूँ 6 बजे बात करिए 6 बजे बाद बात करिए क्लास में. Let's say if I have this particular tool which is now hollow, and if mist particles are coming down from this particular tool at a very high pressure, very high flow rate, these particular droplets will basically act as a charge carrier. And if I provide negative polarity to the tool and positive polarity to work somewhere beneath it, these particular charge carriers will be creating that same kind of effect what my liquid completely merged hydrocarbon oil was doing. So here what you have is you have some air and you have some droplets. So the kind of energy that is being generated, if I have to compare it with, let's say, conventional EDM and a dry EDM, the energy generated by near dry EDM will be intermediate of both of these two extremes. You have higher material removal rate, but with that particular higher material removal rate, you also have these droplets coming in, and with those particular droplets coming in, the energy that will be generated by sparks will be removing material by melting and evaporation. Some of the droplets will be providing certain cooling, so excessive damage on that particular work material will not be felt. मैं क्लास में हूँ, कुछ अर्जेंट हो तो बताइए, अदरवाइज 6 बजे बाद बात कर लेंगे. 6 बजे बाद बात कर लेंगे. Thank you. Now, in this particular case, let's say if the energy is lesser, or I should say it is controlled in a better way, you have a scenario where you have far lesser heat affected zone on the work material. What happens with respect to material removal rate? If I have to just give you a number, the material removal rate when I compare conventional EDM and near dry EDM at same process parameters, but only difference in the dielectric medium. The material removal rate is 5 times higher with near dry EDM over conventional EDM. 5 times higher. Amazing. The surface quality is something around 2 to 3 times better with near dry EDM as compared to conventional one. What happens with the fumes? What happens with that particular toxicity? What happens to that particular recycling? The amount of liquid that we use here is very less. The flow rate is something around, let's say, 1 ml per minute. And usually whenever you have to do some kind of an machining on EDM, you use it for, let's say, maybe 5 minutes or 10 minutes for a particular job. So in 10 minutes, you will be using only 10 ml of that particular fluid, and that too is atomized. The fluid that we are referring to is water, or it can be glycerin. They are not hazardous for environment. The fumes that will be generated will again be either having no effect on the environment, and still you are getting good results. What happens to the person who is working on this particular machine in close vicinity? No effect. He may continue working on this particular part. He will not be having any kind of a respiratory issue. And since this quantity of dielectric medium used is very low, this also implies that it is safe for the environment. Looking at the quality that you get from this particular cases, I have a comparison where there is a same image of workpiece after conventional EDM and near dry EDM. Now in this particular comparison, you can see that there is a recast layer where this particular recast layer is mentioned with a number 4.35. And here in this particular case, I have a number of 0.31. And by the way, you have a somewhat same scale, which is 5 micrometer. Now what happens is whenever work material gets removed from the work by heating and evaporation, some of that particular material also gets redeposited on the same surface. And that particular redeposited material is often referred as white layer. Some people refer it as a recast layer. Now, in this particular case, when you compare the recast layer with near dry EDM and conventional EDM, you can see there is phenomenal difference in the amount of recast layer that comes. Here you have a recast layer which is only 0.31, very less. End result, you have better surface quality. In fact, the integrity of the machine surface with near dry EDM is far better than a conventional one. What happens to the capital cost? That was one important challenge that we had here when we were talking about sustainability elements where energy is being utilized in a better way. Manufacturing cost. Second element is power consumption. Of course, personal health we have talked about, it is safe. Operational safety we have talked about, it is safe. Waste management we have talked about, it is safe. And we also talked about environmental friendliness, which is of cane. The near dry EDM is a far better process. Now, what happens with respect to manufacturing cost and power consumption? Talking about these particular things, let us take a particular case where you have a commercially available die sinking conventional EDM facility procured from market. Cost of this particular equipment is, let's say, rupees 20 lakhs. Now, in this particular case, what you need to add for converting this particular system from a conventional EDM to a near dry EDM? You need a compressor, 5 to 7,000 rupees. You need a pump for mixing this particular liquid dielectric, maybe another 5,000 rupees. You need a particular mist generator, which can be sort of a, let's say, minimum quantity lubrication type. And that is basically nothing but a nozzle where high flow pressure goes in terms of liquid and gas. That is going to cost you something around maybe 2,000 rupees. Some particular alterations which are required for, let's say, some hoses and adding those particular things. Let us add maybe another 2,000 rupees for that. So more or less, you can basically develop this particular complete system in only overall 20,000 rupees. Of course, you should have a design for that. 20 lakh rupees system, which was the capital cost of a EDM. If you have to convert it into a near dry system, you just need to add another 20,000 to it. The material removal rate is increased by something around 5 times. Surface quality is increased, or it is improved by something around 2 times. You have bare minimal recast layer. The process is environment friendly. It is non-toxic. Will you go for this particular process? If you go for this particular process, are you creating any environmental damage? No. Now, if you have a particular process where, let's say, operational cost is also to be considered, let us compare that particular thing. Usually, conventional EDM uses 200 liters of hydrocarbon oil-based system. The cost of hydrocarbon-based dielectric medium is approximately 500 rupees in liter. So if I just do a quick calculation, it will be 500 multiplied by what 200 liters. The cost would be something around what 1 lakh rupees. Huge cost. What I have here with this particular near dry system is I am using only, let's say, 10 ml of dielectric fluid, where I am using it in a sort of a mist part for 10 minutes of machining. Okay. Yeah, of course, that particular 10 ml is going to be consumed, but that particular cost is nothing in comparison with the cost of hydrocarbon oil based medium. So do I have lower operational cost? Maybe yes. What happens to the electrical requirements? Only addition which I am having for electrical requirement for the complete operation is compressor and this particular pump. By the way, here this particular mist is a completely mechanical system. A compressor can work with a, let's say, 1 HP motor. A pump can be bare minimum, something around 100, 200 watt will be the requirement. So only 1200 watt gets added here in this particular EDM system. Okay, something around a unit an hour, not a big rise in the operational cost. Overall, do I have a process which is environment friendly, which can provide you better results, where basically you have channelized the energy to get the best possible outcome from this process? If the answer is yes, perfect. If the answer is no, you can explore more alternatives. But let's say if the answer is yes in this particular case, do we have commercial viability of the process? See, one important thing which you have to realize from this particular specific example is there is an existing machine. We did some simple modification in that particular existing machine, and these modifications are not technologically challenging. Industry can easily adopt them. And since they are getting far better results, the ability to gain profit without having too much of capital expenditure is available. You have decreased dielectric cost. You have an environmentally conscious manufacturing. You have reduced manufacturing cost. The performance characteristics in terms of material removal rate, the surface quality, all of they improve. And you have more or less a simple kind of a modification in terms of machine tool structure. And that is well versed, no issues. So before I proceed, do we have any kind of a query with respect to this entire thing? Of course, I was quite quick in explaining the mechanism part, but in case if you have a query, please feel free to ask me.
If anybody have query, that person may unmute himself and may ask. I think, sir, nobody have any query.
All right, so this is, by the way, just one example. Now, let's say in near dry EDM, if you have to further improve what you can do, there can be multiple combinations where you can actually have a combination of different dielectric medium, which can provide you far better results. Now, one way to do that is you have to experiment with all of those particular dielectric mediums and get the results out. And with those particular results, you have to do a quantitative assessment of the performance characteristics, and then also understand the kind of toxicity which these particular dielectric mediums are going to provide. Of course, keeping in all of those particular cost considerations in picture. So for that, you usually do a cost indexing. Many a times, let's say, if you do not have access to these particular facilities, you can even first make some sort of a simulation model for these particular processes. Try to identify what is going on when you change the properties of a dielectric medium, how the thermal energy is being generated, and then how that particular thermal energy is being used properly. That is going to develop far better and sustainable manufacturing processes. Now, in this particular case, let's say we talk about another process. For example, I talked about electric discharge machining, wherein I said that if you have to increase the output in terms of thermal energy, you usually go for using maybe a scenario where you increase the voltage from 50 volt to 80 volt. Now, let me take this particular case to a different level. See, in ECDM system, you have a workpiece which is, let's say, non-conductive, and you have a tool which is, let's say, conductive. Okay, you have a counter electrode which is substantially larger than the tool, which is again conductive and which is given a positive polarity. Tool given negative polarity. You fill in this entire system by electrolyte. Let's say you are using NaOH. By the way, I am talking about more on this particular NaOH part, and the reason for that is NaOH is considered to be the best electrolyte for ECDM. People have done multiple experiments over a period of time from last maybe 2 decades, and they have realized that yes, NaOH gives you far better results. If you recall, I also said NaOH is toxic. One drop in your eye and you will be happy for your life. You inhale this particular NaOH for 2-3 hours while you are working on this particular machine, you will be having some serious respiratory issues. Maybe you will not be able to continue that work for maybe 3-4 days. But imagine a scenario where in industry somebody has to use this particular machine for creating some kind of feature using this ECDM process. What is going to happen to that person's respiratory system? It is going to have complete degradation. Can you do something here in this particular case where you cannot avoid NaOH and you have to still work with ECDM mechanism and you have to still get one of the best possible results? By the way, just an important thing, ECDM is supposedly one of the best micro machining processes. Courtesy its simplicity, courtesy its very low operational cost, courtesy its very low capital cost. So industry will be happy to have that particular system. In fact, don't be amazed. I have developed a ECDM system which is industry ready, and the cost of that entire system, which is a CNC operated one, is only rupees 50,000 rupees. Only 50,000. It is so cheap. So you have all of those particular things which are desired. You have a process which is very cheap. Industry can actually take it. But in this particular case, yes, it creates certain issues with respect to the environment. It creates issues with respect to toxicity. Now, in this particular case, where you have a conventional ECDM, can you do some improvements so that all of our previous issues which were required with respect to effective channelization of energy and sustainable manufacturing, if they have to be done, how to do it? Let us take a case where you have sort of a solid cylindrical tool, some particular workpiece beneath it, which are placed in sort of a bath and a counter electrode attached somewhere at the bottom part. I do not fill this entire bath with electrolyte. In fact, what I do is I provide a drop by drop flow of electrolyte over the tool. Have you heard about word titration? If you have heard about that particular word titration, it will be easier for you to understand that what happens is if I provide a drop by drop flow of electrolyte, these particular droplets will be flowing along the lines of tool, enveloping this particular tool throughout. And as soon as they reach this particular bottom portion where they have to then drop over the work material, I am also providing simultaneously potential where tool is given a negative polarity and work is given a positive polarity. Hydrogen bubbles nucleate from this particular tool surface, they coalesce into the film and they result in an end spark. Okay, those sparks will be reaching to the work material and they will be creating certain damage to the work part. In terms of material removal rate, when you have drop by drop flow of electrolyte rather than completely immersion of the tool in the electrolyte, the material removal rate is something around 2 times of a conventional ECDM at same process parameters, same voltage input. When you have drop by drop flow of electrolyte, basically here you have lesser toxic material added into this particular system. The efficiency of the process improves. The process is named as titrated electrochemical discharge machine. If you want to have, let's say, more information on this particular process, do a simple thing. Just search for my name and search for this particular process on Google. You will find some good articles on that part. Why good? Because yes, the process actually works. It is environment friendly and it is economical as well. Because here in this particular case, again, the quantity of electrolyte that I am using with titrated ECDM is far less as compared to my conventional ECDM, where I was having a huge bath, having filled with the electrolyte. What happens with the results? Since you are having lesser drop by drop flow coming up, you have lesser quantity of the electrolyte medium that is being consumed. But most important part here is here electrolyte is getting replenished automatically, whereas in a conventional kind of an ECDM system, if some portion of the electrolyte gets evaporated by the extreme heat that is being generated during the sparks, that particular electrolyte takes time to replenish. And that basically provides inconsistency in the process outcomes, because the sparks that will be created will be again inconsistent. However, that situation does not happen under drop by drop mode. So basically what you had is, you had a process which was giving good results, but you now made that particular process in an environment friendly process. Let me talk about one more case. Let's say that you have a case where maybe, let's talk about ECDM only. You have a tool and a workpiece, and here right now you have a tool which is, let's say, solid cylindrical shape, which is a smooth tool. Okay. Now, if I look at this particular tool from, let's say, bottom part, I will be basically looking at a circular portion. Am I right? Now, if I ask you on this particular tool where you will be having maximum current density, the answer to this particular question is the meeting edges between the vertical side and the circumference of this particular tool, which is here, will be having maximum current density. Why? Because these edges will be having minimum area and maximum current density. So sparks will be originating from these particular edges. And once those particular sparks have generated, then maybe the sparks will be moving in an inward direction. So ideally, maximum energy will be concentrated on the sides. Can I do something so that I can channelize this particular energy so sparks originate from this entire cross-section area in one go? And if I can do that, basically I will be getting a better result. Just to understand this particular concept in a simple manner, let's say if this is my work material, where I have used a solid cylindrical tool under ECDM, usually the material will be removed in this sort of a shape when I used a solid cylindrical tool. Why I have made this particular shape? By the way, you are looking at cross section. Okay. Why I made this particular shape? Here, the concentration of current was more on the edges of that particular solid cylindrical tool. And due to that, more heat got generated on the sides, and you have this kind of a shape. What I ideally need is, I need a shape in work where if my tool is solid cylindrical I can remove that entire shape from the work where this particular shape is exact replica of the tool. So basically, I need to concentrate the electrical energy or thermal energy which is generated by the spark so that this energy is uniform throughout the entire cross section of the tool. And I need to make this particular process where energy channelization is used for its best possible outcome. How to do that? We have a tool which is solid cylindrical. Maximum current density is on this particular bottom part, of course, on the edges. So if I look at this particular thing from the bottom, I am having these particular edges which are having maximum current density. Can I make this particular current density go in a way where it is uniform overall? How to do it? Is it possible to provide some sort of a texture on this particular tool surface so that there will be multiple zones on this particular tool throughout where current density is more or less behaving in a sort of uniform manner? And if I can do that, this particular bottom portion of tool will be resulting me in the desired shape. Here, the tool is named as a textured tool, a textured tool. All right. How to make this particular tool? By the way, you have a solid cylindrical tool. You just use this particular tool in maybe a EDM system. From the workpiece portion, you attach sort of a brush electrode, and wherever that particular brush electrode will be coming close to this particular tool, while the tool is rotating, there will be sparks will be creating sort of a texture on the tool. It is a simple process. You can even find how this particular process works. Please refer to some of the articles which I have published on this particular part on textured surface. End result is you again have a process which is environment friendly, where energy is being utilized in a far better manner as compared to all the previous solutions. End result, you have a better feature obtained from the machining part. By the way, with this particular, let's say, initial talk that we had, I hope you have realized that with each and every manufacturing process, you can make certain enhancements by improving the process, not by complicating those particular processes, but to provide simple solutions for complicated problems so that the process becomes good process in terms of environment, they are sustainable, and they also provide better results so that the profit comes in. लाला जी को profit चाहिए मिलेगा, but with that particular profit, environment is something which is important. We have to keep that in mind. Here again, in this particular case, let's say when we have to consider certain scenarios where reuse comes in. Okay, reuse. For all of these particular processes, whatever that I have discussed, I have not touched on to this particular specific point. What we have done is we have minimized the use of dielectric medium. We have minimized the use of electrolyte medium, but that particular reuse is not coming into picture. Maybe this gives you a domain where you can put in your thought process to identify what more can be done in these sort of processes so that reuse also comes in. In certain scenarios, you have to follow a particular approach for developing these kind of systems, and that particular approach requires some sort of a rethinking. And there are some questions which comes into this particular rethinking part. First question is this really needed? So if you think about, let's say, near dry EDM, dielectric medium was being used in conventional EDM. The first thing is this really needed? The hydrocarbon based dielectric medium? And if the answer is no, can I use a different one? Air comes into picture, near dry systems comes into picture. Few questions that can now come up is, can the process or a product last longer? Or can you optimally use that particular resource in a way where it is environment friendly? Or can you actually redesign the process or a product so that it is easier to recycle? In certain cases, you have to make certain decisions where a refuse statement comes in, where you have to ask certain questions. Can you refuse to design something that isn't really needed? Or can you refuse to use materials that aren't recyclable? If your design isn't sustainable, will people or the society will refuse to buy it? So please refer to that particular case when I said NaOH is something which is often used in electrochemical discharge machining system. Can you refuse to use that? If yes, then maybe you have to explore the use of NaCl in that particular case. Or maybe you have to go for slightly better or environment friendly electrolytes. More or less, the key idea here is whatever that you do, you have to understand that we have to develop certain manufacturing processes by either refining them or develop a completely new ones where they have to reduce the amount of material used, reduce the energy that is being used, or optimize the use of energy. And last and foremost is we have to reduce any kind of a waste that is being generated. With that, I will be stopping now. I will be very happy if I get some queries because that will really bring in far better aspects to this particular talk. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Qasim, sir.
Yes. So thank you very much to Professor Akshay. And really, I am very thankful for Professor Akshay because he has taken out this this lecture time from his busy schedule. I know he was traveling up to since morning, I think. And with our request, he is here and he has given a wonderful and vast experience research lecture is there. So on the behalf of Atal FDP, EICT, Department of Mechanical Engineering Department and DTU, we would like to thank you for this talk, which has full of information and insight of the research, what you have done in last 2 decades are there. So now I just would like participant can ask any query or any question is there because he is also running out of time and he has to join somewhere again at 4 o'clock. So somebody has any question is there? Deepak? Deepak, do you have any question from participant?
No, sir. I don't have any question from the participant. I also unmute all the participants so they
Yeah.
can directly ask the question.
All right. Just to put a word in a chat box.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Very nice presentation, and you have to share very nice presentation.
Thank you, Pulsing ji. Do we also have a query from your end?
No, thank you, because I know you are you have taken out your precious time from your too much hectic schedules you have already. So on the behalf of everyone, sir, I
Thank
again
you, Professor Qasim. The pleasure is all mine. One important information that I would give to all participants is whatever that I have talked is more or less a published kind of a material. You can just search for my name and the specific topics, and you will find some quite good articles. Of course, those articles are focused with a specific objective, but here I have presented those particular objectives, keeping sustainability and environment into picture. And yes, we have an obligation to the environment in this regard. Maybe if you go through them and if you have a query, feel free to contact me. My email ID is available on IIT Roorkee's website. My complete profile is also there. In case if you have any query or maybe if you like to discuss something, please feel free to contact me. Thank you, Professor Qasim, for arranging this wonderful session. And
Thanks.
thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks to everyone.
Now, I am sharing the attendance link in the chat box. So I requested all to please mark their attendance.